Now she's got everyone's attention. Senators sit up straight and she holds up a thick binder like it's a loaded gun. Hidden in the back of this budget are provisions giving massive tax exemptions to luxury real estate developers, some of whom operate under shell LLCs that trace back directly or indirectly to Trump Organization affiliates. The room freezes. Like legit, nobody moves for a solid second. Then Trump leans forward, grabs his mic, and barks, "This is a disgrace. These are lies fabricated. Democrat, lies more garbage, but Crockett. She don't even blink. I'm not finished," she says, cool as a cucumber. The chair tries to keep things civil, reminding everyone about decorum, but it's too late. The energy's shifted. Cameras zoom in, journalists in the back are leaning forward. And you know this is about to go viral. Hey there, y'all gather round, because I've got a story that's going to blow your mind. It's about Jasmine Crockett, a straight-up powerhouse of a congresswoman who walked into a budget hearing in D.C. with nothing but a folder full of papers and walked out having flipped the whole dang script on the president's secret billion-dollar tax breaks. This ain't no boring political yawn fest, trust me. It's got drama receipts and a whole lot of guts. So let's dive in. Picture this, it's a heavy morning in Washington, D.C. Not because of the weather now, but because of the unspoken stuff hanging in the air. We're in room 2123 of the Rayburn House office building, and it's packed to the brim. Staffers are fidgeting with their coffee cups. C-SPAN cameras are rolling in dead silence. And the vibe, it's too quiet, like everyone's holding their breath for something big. At the center of this long oak table sits Representative Jasmine Crockett, rocking a steel blue suit, looking like she didn't come to play nice. Her face stone-cold serious. "I'm not here to waste anybody's time," she says, voice steady as a rock. "But I've got a duty to lay bare a pattern, one that hits every taxpayer in this country, especially the folks who don't own skyscrapers in Manhattan or golf resorts in Florida." Oof, shots fired. A few heads pop up, murmurs start buzzing, and Trump. His face don't move, but his fingers start tapping on the desk like he's itching to clap back. Crockett ain't fazed. She keeps going. "Last night I got documents from the Congressional Budget Office that weren't previously shared with this committee. We're talking internal memos, flagged emails, and a budget appendix that got quietly edited just weeks before it was submitted. Now she's got everyone's attention. Senators sit up straight and she holds up a thick binder like it's a loaded gun. Hidden in the back of this budget are provisions given massive tax exemptions to luxury real estate developers, some of whom operate under shell LLCs that trace back directly or indirectly to Trump Organization affiliates. The room freezes. Like legit, nobody moves for a solid second. Then Trump leans forward, grabs his mic, and barks, "This is a disgrace. These are lies fabricated. Democrat lies more garbage." But Crockett, she don't even blink. "I'm not finished," she says, cool as a cucumber. The chair tries to keep things civil, reminding everyone about decorum, but it's too late. The energy's shifted. Cameras zoom in, journalists in the back are leaning forward, and you know this is about to go viral. She flips to a marked page and her binder voice never cracking. "We're looking at a projected deficit increase of $312 billion tied to these tax exemptions alone. I'm not speculating, I'm citing confirmed models from bipartisan economists, some of whom were appointed during your administration, Mr. President." Trump tries to interrupt again, but the chair cuts him off, giving Crockett the floor back. She lets the silence hang for a beat before dropping the hammer. "Now, Mr. President, since you've chosen to be here today, I've got one question." She looks up from her pages and locks eyes with him. "Who's this budget meant to serve, the family struggling with rent in Tucson, Arizona, or your own empire?" The room gasps. Trump's face goes red, but Crockett don't push harder. She closes her binder, leans back, and lets the silence do the talking. Outside, the media's already losing their minds. Inside, the story's just getting started, but nobody, not even Crockett, could have guessed what had happened once the camera stopped rolling. That question lands like a grenade, and for 10 full seconds, the room don't breathe. A congressional hearing ain't usually where you get drama, but this one feels like a courtroom, a press conference, and a bombshell news drop all rolled into one. Trump don't answer right away. He leans back, glances at an aide, then looks down like he's brushing something off his sleeve. But it ain't indifference, it's control. He's not gonna bite just yet. The chair, looking shook, clears his throat and tries to move things along. "We'll proceed with statements from other members," he says. But Crockett raises her hand. "Mr. Chairman, with all due respect, I believe the numbers I've presented need immediate clarity before we move on. I'd like to request the president respond directly to my question." Boom, open challenge. Trump takes the bait, leaning in, slow teeth clenched. "Let me tell you something, Congresswoman," he starts. This budget is the strongest, most effective plan we've ever put together. People are winning, businesses are winning, jobs are up, taxes are down, and America's finally running like a business again. Crockett nods, not in agreement, but like she's waiting for more. And that gets under his skin. He keeps going. I don't know where you're getting your numbers, probably some left-wing newsletter, but the real people out there, they know I've made them richer, safer, better. What you're doing is playing a tired political game. A few of his loyalists in the back clap, but the vibe's off. Crockett's response ain't fiery, it's surgical. With respect, Mr. President, she says, I don't need a newsletter when the source of these numbers is the agency your own party fought to protect just 3 years ago, the CBO. She clicks a remote and a big screen lights up with a chart. It's simple 2 lines, red and blue. Red shows corporate tax cuts for commercial real estate spiking hard. Blue shows public infrastructure investment tanking after Q2. This, she says, pointing to the red line is what's being funded. And this pointing to the blue is what's being neglected. You can hear gasps. Reporters are typing faster. Trump scoffs. You're doing charts now? It's a show. It's theater, just budget manipulation. But Crockett don't flinch. She clicks again, and an email thread pops up, names unblurred. One name stands out, R. Bayfield, a known Trump economic advisor CC'd on a convo about real estate carve-outs for presidential affiliates. She reads the subject line out loud. Ensure Section G48L remains untouched before submitting. Sensitive items must be shielded. She turns to the room. This ain't about partisanship. It's about transparency. Every taxpayer watching deserves to know that over $100 billion in write-offs is directly benefiting folks tied to the president's financial portfolio. A Republican congressman from Wisconsin shifts in his seat, looking real uncomfortable. That's when you know it's sticking. Trump glares at the screen, jaw tight. I don't know what that is. Haven't seen it. Could be fake, could be Russian, who knows, nobody laughs. That kind of deflection used to get chuckles, but not today. Crockett stands still. It's from your office, Mr. President. Flagged by your own staff as sensitive, authenticated by 2 bipartisan budget analysts this morning before I walked in here. Then she does something subtle but powerful. She steps back, puts the clicker down, folds her arms, and says nothing. She don't need to. The silence presses on every corner of that room, and for the first time that morning, Trump ain't got a comeback ready. But outside, the story's catching fire. Within an hour of the hearing going live, newsrooms from Sacramento to Baltimore are scrambling to cut footage for prime time. Social media explodes the clip of Crockett calmly showing the email hits 2 million views by mid-afternoon. Inside the West Wing, though, it ain't confident no more, it's pure chaos. By 2:30 p.m., Trump's senior advisor, Gina Murez, is pacing in the Roosevelt room with 2 phones, one to her ear, the other buzzing nonstop. No, do not let him tweet yet, she snaps at an aide. We need verification on the leak. If Bayfield's name is on that memo, we can't spin this. Meanwhile, back on Capitol Hill, Crockett's just wrapped her post-hearing press statement. She don't gloat or grandstand. Surrounded by mics and flashing cameras, she says, calm as ever, I wasn't elected to sit quietly. I was elected to protect the public's money, and that's exactly what I did today. Reporters throw aggressive follow-ups. Is this a political stunt? Will she file an ethics complaint? But she don't bite. We'll handle the next steps with transparency, she says. I don't need to yell. The documents speak for themselves. By 5 p.m., the emails are confirmed authentic. Reuters, AP, and the Washington Chronicle all verify independently that the email Crockett showed wasn't doctored or taken out of context. It came straight from an internal briefing file shared with subcommittee staff, one that mysteriously vanished from the public version of the budget appendix 2 days later. That deletion, also verified. Then it gets worse. A second file surfaces, dug up by a finance office intern. It's a budget side note, a working draft, not meant for public eyes, showing projections for how these luxury exemptions would hit federal revenue over 4 years if left untouched. The number at the bottom, $1.04 trillion. That ain't just a paperwork glitch, it's a scandal brewing. Overnight, late-night hosts have a field day. Hashtags like #TrumpBudgetGate and #Crockett vs. Trump trend worldwide. A Twitter thread from a Georgia economics prof breaks down how the budget favors just 1% of taxpayers while slashing infrastructure budgets for states like Mississippi and Idaho. This story ain't just about ethics no more, it's about math, and math don't pick a party. But the real kicker comes the next morning on Wake Up America, a conservative Dallas morning show usually backing Trump hard. One host, sitting stiff, says, Look, I don't always agree with Rep. Crockett, but those numbers hard to ignore. If it's true, billions got redirected to real estate developers, especially ones tied to the Oval Office. That ain't partisan. That's theft, plain and simple. That clip gets replayed on CNN, Fox, even international channels by noon. Back in D.C., Crockett walks into her office that morning with folders under her arm and a note from her chief of staff on her desk. Bayfield just resigned. She reads it twice. Bayfield, Trump's longtime economic advisor, the guy behind the tax structure of the first 3 Trump budgets, the architect of the growth through cuts model, gone. His resignation email, short and vague, hits the press before the White House can spin it. It's the kind of move you make when you see the ship taking on water. Reporters are already waiting downstairs, but her staff asks if she wants a press conference. Nah, she says, not yet. Let him talk first. We've got more. 'Cause Crockett knows she knows what's coming. The public outrage is just scratching the surface. The real damage ain't in the emails, it's in what those exemptions cost. But what she don't know yet is she's going to pay a price too, just not the kind of price she expects. By noon, the White House press briefing is wall-to-wall packed. The tension's electric. Journalists ain't just here to record, they're here to pounce. The press secretary looks uneasy, shuffling notes. She didn't write rehearsing answers that already sound stale. But Trump ain't letting anyone speak for him. He storms in, no tie, no teleprompter, just a stack of papers in hand and a glare that don't soften. He ignores shouted questions till he hits the podium, drops the stack with a thud, and starts jabbing the podium with 2 fingers. Let me be very clear, what you saw yesterday was the most dishonest, staged, disgraceful stunt in congressional history. Jasmine Crockett should be ashamed. She's been coached reading from a script trying to smear the most successful American presidency this country's ever seen. Reporters shout back almost in unison, Mr. President, was the email from your advisor real? Did you personally benefit from the tax carve-outs? Did your administration delete budget records? Trump raises his voice. Fake all of it. Documents taken out of context, manipulated probably by some radical left intern. This is political theater, folks. They know they can't beat me in an election, so they're dragging me down with phony scandals. He steps back, waving a printout. This budget saved American businesses. You know who it hurt, China. You know who don't like that, Democrats. Do the math. But for once, the room ain't buying it like they used to. A veteran reporter from St. Louis gets his shot. Mr. President, are you denying the email thread? It's been authenticated by 3 outlets. Trump don't answer, just pivots. Look who benefits when Crockett gets headlines. Look at her donors, her district. This is about power, not truth. It don't land. Later, his interview with conservative host Craig Ferguson meant for damage control flops fast. Ferguson, known for softball questions, hits hard. Mr. President, I supported your tax policies, but if even 20% of what Crockett said is true, don't the American people deserve an honest answer? Trump scowls. You sound like CNN now, Craig. And that's when things really start sliding. Meanwhile, Crockett ain't said a word all day. No posts, no shows. She's in her D.C. office, reading printouts from the Budget Oversight Office. Her phone's blowing up staffers, update her in whispers. Someone vandalized her Dallas office, spray-painting traitor on the door. They file a police report, keep it quiet. Still, she stays calm. Her chief of staff comes in, brow furrowed. They're saying you might get called for a closed-door hearing. Some GOP members want to investigate you for breach of national security. She looks up confused but steady. For reading a document they buried. He nods. They're saying the materials weren't cleared for public release. They're trying to flip it on you. Jasmine exhales slow. Let 'em. 'Cause she knows what they don't. She's got the original draft showing who edited what and when. They ain't hit the hearing yet, but they will. That night in Ohio, Trump holds an emergency rally. The crowd's hyped, loyal chanting, but something's off. He rants about fake scandals, calls Crockett a radical puppet, promises revenge. But the fire in his words don't match the panic in his eyes. Jasmine watches from her D.C. hotel room legal pad and lap. She don't smile, don't gloat, just writes 5 words: he's scared. That's my proof. But she also knows fear's got teeth, and it ain't just Trump she's got to worry about now. Next morning at 8:04 a.m., Crockett walks into the Committee on Oversight and Accountability with a locked briefcase. No aides, no press, just her and the evidence. The room's quieter than usual. Colleagues avoid eye contact or keep it brief, polite, cautious. Everyone's heard about the vandalism. Read the White House memo warning lawmakers against doctored documents and partisan distractions. But they ain't seen what's in that briefcase. She opens it after the room's call to order. Chairman Langford gives her the floor, and she walks to the center, sliding 3 folders on the table, draft A, draft B, final budget. I'm here not to argue, but to clarify, she starts. Yesterday I was accused of misrepresenting the budget and leaking protected materials. So I'd like to walk you all through what changed between these drafts and who changed it. She clicks her remote. On the screen, 2 versions of a budget line, one from January 19th, 2025, cap and real estate depreciation deductions. The other, February 6th, removing the cap and adding a provision for deferred capital gains reinvestment through partnerships. That change. A projected $47 billion revenue loss over 5 years. She circles a signature on the February draft reviewed and submitted by R. Bayfield. No gloatin', no pause, she moves to the next discrepancy. A section allocating $8.9 billion for school infrastructure cut to $2.1 billion, the difference redirected to a vague urban redevelopment incentive. She pulls up the beneficiary list. 3 of 5 companies are subsidiaries of a Boca Raton holding group that till 2022 listed Trump Organization as a 12% stakeholder. Dead silence. Even Langford's hands tremble as he grips the gavel. Crockett turns to the committee. I didn't come to shame anyone, but I won't sit quiet while Americans pay more, so billionaires can write off beachfront condos and hollowed-out hotels. A Republican rep from Kansas clears her throat. Congresswoman Crockett, are you prepared to submit these drafts to the Ethics Subcommittee for forensic review? Jasmine looks her dead in the eye. I already did 30 minutes ago. The impact hits like a punch. Aides rush out, phones buzz. Even neutrals know this ain't just posturing, the documentation's official. Crockett gathers her folders slow, letting the silence settle, then drops the line replayed for 48 hours. This isn't about left or right. It's about wrong. The hearing ends in 11 minutes, but the story's already out. That night, 60 Minutes leads with Crockett releases receipts Trump budget under ethics probe. Fox splits coverage, some question time and others praise her courage. A Nebraska anchor, conservative leaning, says she walked in like a lawyer with a case file and walked out looking like a damn prosecutor. Jasmine skips interviews, rallies, posts. She heads to her district that weekend meeting teachers and small business owners. A retired Navy mechanic shakes her hand in a grocery store parking lot. I don't vote blue, but I back honesty. Whatever this is, don't let go. She don't plan to. But with Bayfield gone, someone else has got to take the fall, and the White House has a name in mind. By Sunday, Crockett's 6-word closer. This isn't about left or right is clipped, captioned, reshared everywhere. It ain't just political circles noticing, it's barbershops and Milwaukee coffee counters, in Fresno Union halls, in Toledo churches in Oklahoma. The momentum's left the Beltway. Even late-night comedy jumps in Saturday Report Live, sketches Trump with gold-suited developers high-fiving while a budget burns. The laughter's got an edge. It ain't just mockery, it's recognition. People get it. The story's got legs. It ain't policy jargon no more, it's trust. Inside the White House, though it's hostile, the press secretary strained pivots to attacking Crockett's credibility on live TV. Representative Crockett has a history of media-seeking behavior, selectively releasing documents for personal ambition. This ain't whistleblowing, it's grandstanding. That don't land, especially after Crockett's team confirms every document was entered into the House Ethics record pre-hearing, with advance copies sent to select committee members across parties. One Rebecca Lee Withers from Indiana, a moderate, tweets late Sunday, got the drafts early. Fact-checked them. They hold. You don't have to like her delivery to admit her facts are solid. We've got a serious issue. That post racks up 12 million views, 350K likes in 8 hours, cracking the dam for moderates to speak. By Monday House, Republicans in swing districts are distancing themselves from the budget's shady provisions. Anonymous leaks show GOP messages advising lawmakers to dodge interviews, not defend line-item deductions till further notice. White House staff scramble behind closed doors. They can't ignore her, so they dig into her background. An unsigned op-ed, clearly from a Trump-aligned strategist, claims Crockett's got conflicts from past work with a Dallas redevelopment nonprofit, framing it as hypocrisy. Cable news eats it up as Crockett clean budget bombshells shadow. Her team counters fast, releasing IRS disclosures and city records within 2 hours, proving she stepped down from the board 2 years before funding was proposed. But she don't stop there. On local radio, she addresses it head-on. I've never claimed to be perfect. I've made mistakes, but I've never profited from the pain of the people I represent. That's the difference. This ain't about one budget line. It's about a culture of secrecy and greed that's gotten too comfy. The host pauses, then says quietly, "You don't sound like a politician." Jasmine smiles. Maybe that's the problem. That clip goes viral again. She hadn't planned to be a symbol, but she's becoming one. The Ethics Committee confirms a formal investigation into Trump budget revisions, scheduling a public hearing for the following week. Crockett's asked to testify under oath. Her team knows every word will be dissected, every pause headline bait. Still, she agrees. What else can she do? She didn't come to D.C. for small ball. She calls her dad that night just to hear his voice. "I'm proud of you," he says, even when it gets messy, especially then. She don't cry, but she don't speak for a sec either. While the public sees a rising star, others are watching with different eyes, waiting, digging, planning. The ethics hearing set for Thursday. But the real battle starts sooner. By Tuesday, her office gets 2 anonymous packages, a shredded photocopy of her old bar license, and a typed letter, no return address. You think this makes you clean. Her chief of staff wants Capitol Police involved ASAP. Crockett agrees, but only after snapping a photo of the letter for her records. She knows the game distraction, misdirection pressure. This ain't just public smearing, it's making her doubt herself in private. Still, she stays locked in. On the Hill hallways got a new rhythm. People ain't just whispering, there's calculation in the silence. Colleagues who greeted her warmly last week now keep distance. Staffers she don't know linger too long outside her office. 2 committee members from the other side suddenly request her full evidence stack, citing transparency concerns. But Jasmine don't blink. She holds a closed-door meeting with legal counsel that afternoon, reviewing every file, tracing sources, checking chain of custody logs. It's clean, all filed. Still, the pressure mounts. At 6:42 p.m., Senator Clay DeMars, a heavy-hitting Democrat, calls. "Jasmine," he says, voice low, "this thing's grown teeth. If you walk into that hearing and double down, you're not just taking on the president, you're calling out half the committee's donors. What's your end game?" She pauses, then answers steady. "My end game's the truth. Ain't that the point?" A short silence. "Be careful," he says. "Power don't just push back, it erases." That sticks with her. Back in Dallas, local news shows protesters near her office half support and half demanding resignation. The split ain't just political, it's cultural. To some, she's a truth teller. To others, a threat to unspoken rules. That night in her D.C. apartment above a bakery, she sits alone at the kitchen table, TV on low, watching a muted replay of her testimony. She stares at a sticky note on her fridge. "Be the woman you needed when you were 12. Her mom wrote that when Jasmine first ran for local office. It reminds her fear don't mean stop, it means pay attention. At 10:18 p.m., a text from a Republican aide. She barely knows off-record 2 committee members meet in W/White House Counsel tomorrow. Planning to hit UW/procedural violation, say you leaked classified attachments. She stares at it. She feels what's coming. The playbook's obvious. If they can't disprove evidence, they discredit how it's obtained. Don't matter that files are verified, submitted by rules. They just need doubt. Next morning, her legal team sends a preemptive statement to the Ethics Subcommittee clarifying file classification status with timestamps, clearance tags, clerk confirmations. It's airtight, but politics don't run on airtight, it runs on perception. At noon, word comes the White House reached out to her alma mater, digging through law school records for dirt, a missed exam. A bad citation, anything for a headline. She laughs. They're looking in the wrong place. Only scandal from that era's how many ramen packets I survived on. Still, the weight's there. The hearing's under 48 hours away. No matter how solid her files, how many analysts back her, she knows the room she's walking into ain't built for truth tellers, it's built for power. But power slips when enough folks ask the right questions, and Jasmine's made sure they can't be ignored. The night before the hearing, she flies home to Oak Cliff, Texas for 6 hours. Unscheduled, not strategic, just needed to see her dad. She knocks on his screen door at 10:17 p.m. Harold Crockett's waiting, don't ask questions, just hugs her like the world could burn and he'd still shield her. They sit in the living room, lights, dim old ceiling fan clinking. House ain't changed since high school, same carpet, same scratched coffee table. Comfort ain't luxury, it's memory. Her dad pours sweet tea, leans back. "You good?" he asks gently. She nods, looks at her hands, then out the window at a flickering street lamp. "I don't think they want the truth, Daddy. I think they want to break me." Harold sips slow. "Course they do. You're dangerous now. You did what they thought you wouldn't, stayed calm, stayed smart, didn't back down." He leans forward. "You don't fight fire with fire, baby. You fight with water. But expect the smoke. It'll burn your eyes 'fore it clears. A tear slips, just one. They talk another hour, not politics, old teacher's mom's sweet potato pie, her brother arguing with the coat rack as a kid lawyer. It grounds her, reminds her why. Next morning, she's back in D.C., but things escalate. Her office gets a detailed anonymous threat via encrypted email site and personal info middle school church first job. Capitol Police up her security. Staff pull her schedule from the public site. It ain't political no more. It's personal, the kind of personal meant to silence. But she refuses to go quiet. At noon, she meets privately with 3 freshman Congress members, 1 independent, 1 Republican, 1 Democrat, in a nondescript cafe near the Capitol. Phones off, no aides. I'm not asking you to agree with me, she says, eyeing each. I'm asking you to read the files I read, look at the numbers, and ask if you'd be okay explaining this to your voters. The Republican Shane Kinley from Montana nods. I did. And no, I wouldn't be. That's unexpected, not endorsement, but silence from the right folks is power. It means fewer attack space to move. That night alone outside her apartment, key in hand, she breathes deep. Once inside, it's game time, no breaks, no safe moments. Her phone buzzes with a text from her comms director, press outside 4 networks holding questions till after hearing. She don't reply, just walks in, sits at the kitchen table, stares at her laptop screensaver, a photo with her niece on the steps eating popsicles, no makeup, no cameras, real life. That's what she's protecting. That's what they forgot. She ain't here for show or legacy, not chasing headlines. She's defending something simple, the right for folks without billion-dollar shelters to know what's done in their name. But when she walks into that hearing room next morning, she don't expect who'll try to stop her or what it'll cost. Capitol Hill's buzzing not the usual way. This ain't just about Jasmine Crockett no more. It's about how many folks are paying attention. Voters, vets, single moms, truck drivers, people who never watched a budget hearing got live stream alerts on. The room's full before sunrise, press overflowing, YouTubers streaming from folding chairs. Outside, crowds behind barriers hold signs truth matters while others yell about deep state conspiracies. Inside, it's cold controlled. At 9 a.m., sharp Chairman Ridley calls order. Crockett sits at the witness table, folders closed, hands folded. She ain't jittery, ain't performing, looks like someone waiting to tell the truth, knowing most in that room hope she slips 'fore she speaks. Ridley clears his throat, reads a statement. Before we begin, note that materials from prior hearings are under procedural review. Further reference may be deemed a breach of conduct. A threat in process clothing. Jasmine don't blink. I understand, she says calm, but the truth don't care about your process. Gasps, chuckles, even a cough sounds surprised. The hearing rolls on. Questions hit hard. Where'd you get the drafts? Did you know their clearance status? Why not raise concerns internally? First, she answers plain dates, emails, records she printed herself. Nothing flashy, just precise. Then the turn. Rapide Glendon Wright, old-school Trump ally from Missouri, leans in. Congresswoman, you seem confident, but is it possible, just possible, your staff mishandled sensitive files in their eagerness to make a point, a setup she saw coming? She nods slow. Sure, anything's possible, but not everything's true. She slides a thin folder to the clerk. This is our internal chain of custody documentation. Every file logged, time-stamped, signed by congressional staff. I'll remind y'all, I'm not just a congresswoman, I'm an attorney. Unlike some, I read the fine print. Wright opens his mouth, shuts it. The chair turns red. Reporters scribble fast. Then, unexpected from the left dais, Rep. Lynn Novak, Republican from rural Iowa, speaks. I've reviewed those documents. My staff called 3 ex-CBO analysts to cross-reference. The math holds whether we like the optics or not. Content checks out. Hush falls. Novak ain't moderate, ain't media-friendly, known for party loyalty. Now he's saying she's right. Jasmine don't celebrate, just nods thanks. That's the damn Kraken. By afternoon, headlines shift from budget controversy deepens to Crockett's facts hold under fire. Radio hosts who called her a grandstander soften. One says maybe we owe her a second look. Public sentiment flips fast. Congressional phone lines ring off the hook. Voters want answers, not sound bites or excuses. Why was the budget rewritten to help billionaires gut public programs? At a Spokane town hall, a Republican congressman's booed defending exemptions. Ain't a liberal crowd, ain't staged, just regular voters not buying the old script. Back in D.C., Crockett leaves the hearing via side exit. No cameras, no reporters. She walks to her car, sits a long moment for turning the key. Her phone buzzes with an unknown number. They're gonna try one more time. Be ready. But she ain't the only one standing now. America's paying attention, and that changes everything. The final blow don't come from the committee press or White House, it's internal. 2 days post-hearing House Budget Office staffer Landon Shaw, mid-30s, unknown, but Respected resigns quiet. No press, just a letter at 4:12 p.m. Friday, but attached under seal a sworn affidavit confirming Crockett's claims. Not only are the documents legit, but Shaw details edits made under pressure from Bayfield and another advisor, Garrett Nolan, a fixer tied to Florida redevelopment funds profiting from carve-outs. By Sunday, press has it. By Monday, Crockett ain't controversial no more. She's the lawmaker who sparked the biggest ethics probe into a presidential budget in modern history. But it ain't without cost. Post-affidavit threats escalate beyond emails. A tinted SUV tails her from the Hill to her apartment 2 nights straight. Her office evacuates over a suspicious envelope false alarm, thankfully. Staff rotate shifts for safety. Family begs her to step back. I can't now, she tells her dad. Not when we're this close to something real. 'Cause what she uncovered ain't just corruption, it's a blueprint, a system funneling public funds to private wealth via policy jargon hidden in footnotes. Most Americans never noticed till she made 'em see. At a Phoenix town hall, a mom of 3 tearful stands. My son's school ain't had working AC in 5 years. They cut repair funding so someone could build condos in Palm Beach. Room's silent. That's when Jasmine gets it. This ain't about headlines or hearing wins. It's letting folks see what's always been there, giving them words to name it. Letters pour in from postal workers, vets, single dads, students in debt. Most ain't political, just broken trust. One reads, "You made me feel like someone in that room's fighting for us. Thank you." Another, "Never thought I'd get a budget hearing, but you made it clear. Now I'm angry." That's when she knows she's done more than expose fraud. She started a convo. People ain't just watching, they're asking. At her next presser, she switches it up. "I don't want y'all to just trust me," she says. "Check me. Check all of us. Hold us accountable. Make us explain every dollar. 'Cause we don't own that money you do." Room's quiet, not from shock, from respect. A Sacramento journalist asks if she's got regrets. She pauses. "I regret how long we let this happen without pushing back. But now we're awake. I won't let us sleep again." By week's end, 5 more lawmakers bipartisan join a push to audit major tax carve-outs from the last 2 administrations. Some call it the Crockett Clause. She don't care what it's called, just wants it enforced. Next month, back in Oak Cliff for her niece's birthday, she's at the grill with her dad, flipping burgers in Texas. Son, no security, no noise. Her niece tugs her sleeve. "Auntie Jazz, are you famous now?" Jasmine kneels smiling. "Nah, I just told the truth real loud," she whispers, and I made sure they listened. Truth costs something, but silence costs more. If this story moved you or got you thinking, share it with someone who still believes accountability matters. Stories like this only live if we keep telling them. Ridley cleared his throat and launched into a prepared statement before we begin. He said it's important to note that certain materials previously presented in public hearings are now under procedural review until that review is complete. Any further reference to those documents may be deemed a breach of conduct. It was a warning wrapped in process, delivered like a threat. Jasmine didn't blink. "I understand," she said calmly. "But the truth doesn't care about your process." Gasps, a few chuckles, even a cough from the back of the room sounded like it held surprise. The hearing continued. Questions came at her hard. Where did you obtain the budget? Drafts? Were you aware of their clearance status? Why didn't you raise concerns through internal channels first? She answered each one plainly, with dates, emails, and records that she had printed, and brought herself nothing flashy, just precise. But then came the turn. Representative Glendon Wright, an older, staunch Trump ally from Missouri, leaned into his microphone and said, "Congresswoman, you seem very confident. But is it possible, just possible, that your staff mishandled sensitive files in their eagerness to make a point? It was a setup, one she saw coming." Jasmine nodded slowly. "Sure, anything's possible, but not everything is true." She pulled out a thin folder and slid it toward the committee clerk. "This is a full copy of our internal chain of custody documentation. Every file was logged, time-stamped, and signed by official congressional staff. I'll remind this committee that I'm not just a congresswoman, I'm an attorney, and unlike some people, I read the fine print." Wright opened his mouth, then shut it again. The chair turned red, someone coughed, reporters scribbled faster. Then from the left side of the dais, something unexpected happened. Representative Lynn Novak, a Republican from rural Iowa, spoke. "I've reviewed those documents. My staff called 3 former CBO analysts to cross-reference the claims. The math holds whether we like the optics or not. The content checks out." A hush fell over the room. Novak wasn't a moderate. He wasn't a media darling. He was known for siding with the party on nearly every vote, and now he was saying plainly that she was right. Jasmine didn't celebrate. She didn't even smile. She just gave a short nod of thanks. That was the moment the dam cracked by afternoon news outlets had pivoted. Headlines shifted from budget controversy deepens to Crockett's facts hold under fire. Radio hosts who dismissed her as a grandstander now softened their tone. One even said maybe we owe her a second look. Public sentiment turned fast. Phone lines and congressional offices rang off the hook. Voters wanted answers, not angry sound bites, not excuses. They wanted someone to explain why the budget had been quietly rewritten to help billionaires and gut public programs at a town hall in Spokane. That night, a Republican congressman was booed for defending the exemptions. It wasn't a liberal crowd. It wasn't a staged protest. It was voters. Regular ones, and they weren't buying the old script anymore. Back in D.C., Jasmine Crockett left the hearing through the side exit. No cameras, no reporters. She walked quietly to her car, climbed in and sat there for a long moment before turning the key. Her phone buzzed with a message from a number she didn't recognize. They're going to try one more time. Be ready. But this time, she wasn't the only one standing. America was paying attention, and that changed everything. The final blow didn't come from the committee or a press leak or even the White House. It came from within 2 days after the hearing. A staffer from the House Budget Office, Landon Shaw, mid-30s, unknown to the public, but respected on the Hill, resigned quietly. No press conference, no comment, just a simple letter submitted at 4:12 p.m. on a Friday. But inside that letter was a statement attached under seal. A sworn affidavit. It confirmed everything Jasmine had said. Not only were the budget documents legitimate, but Shaw detailed how multiple edits had been made under pressure from Bayfield and another advisor whose name hadn't been made public until now. That name, Garrett Nolan, a longtime fixer connected to various financial shell operations, including some with direct ties to a Florida-based redevelopment fund that had profited from the carve-outs. By Sunday, the press had the document. And by Monday, Crockett was no longer a controversial figure on TV. It was the lawmaker who broke open the largest ethics investigation into a presidential budget in modern history. But it hadn't come without a cost. In the days following Shaw's affidavit, Jasmine faced threats that went beyond emails. A tinted SUV had followed her from the Hill to her apartment. 2 nights in a row, her office had been briefly evacuated due to a suspicious envelope. Thankfully, a false alarm. Her staff rotated shifts for safety. Her family begged her to take time off. She refused. "I can't back off now," she told her father on the phone, "not when we're this close to something real," because what she'd uncovered wasn't just corruption. It was a blueprint, a system that quietly funneled public funds into private wealth under the guise of policy jargon and economic theory. Most Americans never noticed because it wasn't written in headlines. It was hidden in footnotes. But Jasmine had made people notice. At a town hall in Phoenix, a mother of 3 stood up with tears in her eyes. "My son's school hasn't had working AC in 5 years, she said, and they cut the repair funding so someone could build condos in Palm Beach." The room was silent. That's when Jasmine realized something. This wasn't about a headline or even a victory in a hearing. It was about letting people see what had always been there and giving them language to name it. She started receiving letters from people she'd never met. Postal workers, veterans, single dads, college students drowning in loan debt. Most didn't write with politics in mind. They wrote about broken trust, about how they didn't believe anyone in D.C. cared about them until now. One message read, "You made me feel like somebody in that room was actually fighting for us. Thank you." Another said, "I never thought I'd understand a federal budget hearing, but you made it clear, and now I'm angry." That's when she knew she'd done something more powerful than exposed fraud. She'd started a conversation, and now people weren't just watching. They were asking at her next press conference. Jasmine stood before the microphones and said something different than usual. "I don't want you to just trust me," she said. "I want you to check me. Check all of us. Hold us accountable. Make us explain where every dollar goes, because we don't own that money." You do. The room was quiet. Not from shock, from respect. A journalist from Sacramento asked if she had any regrets. She paused, then answered, "I regret how long we let this happen without pushing back. But now that we're awake, I won't let us go back to sleep by the end of the week." 5 more lawmakers had joined the push to audit all major tax carve-outs from the last 2 administrations. Bipartisan real. Some called it the Crockett Clause. She didn't care what they called it. She just wanted it enforced the following month when she returned to Oak Cliff for her niece's birthday. She stood at the grill with her father flipping burgers in the Texas sun. No security, no noise. Her niece ran up and tugged on her sleeve. "Auntie Jazz, are you famous now?" Jasmine knelt down smiling. "Nah, I just told the truth really loud then." She whispered, and I made sure they listened. The truth costs something, but silence costs more. If this story moved you or made you think, subscribe and share it with someone who still believes accountability matters, because stories like this, they only live if we keep telling them.